Hey, I just wanted to give an update on these manual turnout throws that I posted a video about a couple days ago. I've refined them a bit. What I did initially worked, but I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I wanted to tweak them a bit so they work better. So these are completely manual. You pull it, push it, and it's connected directly to the turnout. So when you and they're both controlling a runaround here at the far end of the layout, which is because of this curve, it's a little far back, so I didn't want to have to reach for it. So I thought I'd just control that runaround with these manual pulls. So on this one, the first one going into the runaround, when you pull it out, it diverges the turnout into the runaround. Push it in, it aligns to the main. So to make it simple and not have to have lights on the fascia or any kind of lights on the track, when you pull it out, you see red on the metal rod, so you know that it's diverged. When you push it in, you don't see the red. On the other turnout there, on the runaround, it's the opposite. Initially, I had this one inverted. On the last video, there was a fulcrum or a pivot, so that when you pushed it in, it actually aligned it to the main. When you pulled it out, it aligned it to the, it diverged it. But after thinking about it, it's more intuitive to do it this way. So when you push it in, it's basically pushing the points, which would diverge them. And when you pull it out, it's pulling the points towards you, just like this one here. So in this case, when you pull it out, it's green because it's aligning to the main. When you push it in, it's diverged, so you don't see the green. So they're just inverted. So if you want to run that, if you want to run a train through that runaround, you'll pull this one, so it's red, and you'll push that one in, so you don't see the green. And then if you want to set things back to the main, you'll pull this out. It's green. You push that one in, you don't see the red. So it's much more intuitive, and actually this one here functions better than the way I had it before. And I'm going to show you why. One reason is I don't have that fulcrum or pivot point anymore. And the other reason is how I've done the linkage. So let me show you that. So on this side, we've got manual control. On this side of the runaround, we've got manual control. And they work great. So here's what's going on. I simplified the linkage here from what I showed in the first video. There was a lot more going on, but I bent that initial rod so that it goes up and connects to the rod that pushes the turnout, and that works pretty well. I've got the pop rivet in the fascia to kind of give it a clean look. And then what I did here, I had, if you watch the original video, I actually had a curved piece of rod that kind of pulled out with the straight rod, and it was a little clunky, and it was there was a lot of play in it. So what I did is similar to what you get if you get one of those Blue Point kits. I took brass tubing and I bent it, and I just made, with pipe strapping, I made anchors on either end so that it stays there. And then inside this is the yellow flexible plastic that you have in the Blue Point kits, and you just put that 2mm rod in the end of it, just press fit it in there here, and then there's a 2mm rod right up to about here, and then then it press fits into this same piece of yellow plastic so that it's flexible. So it flexes around that curve. So when I move that pull on the fascia, you can see what's happening. The yellow plastic is just bending through that brass tube, and I've got a stop on it here, which is just the wire connector. And then as it comes in here, I just bent it so that it goes up and aligns with the rod that needs to pull to move the turnout. And it's sliding through those wire connectors as a guide. I just use a piece of wood to offset it a bit. So I got rid of that fulcrum. So yeah, it works a lot better. Pretty happy with it. Very inexpensive and simple, which I like. Now I've talked about it in the other video, I've got all kinds of other turnout controls going on. I've got the tortoise, and down at the other end I've got an actual blue point, which has a double pull, double throw. And that one's pretty simple. You can see the blue point back there in the nest of wires. And then everything else I just operate manually. So the only ones that I operate manually have got these RIX signals that indicate which direction the turnout is set for. And I've got a few more of those to put in, but I'm putting them in where it makes sense. So where I've got electrical or manual controls are either, you know, critical turnouts like this one that goes into the yard, or the big Walther's curve turnout, or these that are hard to reach by hand. And then everything else, I just use this knitting needle or bamboo skewer and switch it that way. It's pretty easy. I've got signals in any turnout control that has a double pull, double throw, like this tortoise, and like the blue point turnout. And it activates the signal because it's photo censored, and when my camera goes over it, it kicks off. So yeah, those are done. Hopefully that gives you some ideas on how to do that. I mean, you really, it's so simple once you figure it out. So hopefully I'll short circuit the learning curve for you, and you can put them anywhere. The trickiest part is obviously when you have something like this where your fascia is curved and you want to pull it out, push it in this way, but the turnout is actually kind of going around a curve and then that way. The easiest is what I have here. You just pull it straight out or push it straight in because the turnout is right there. In this case, the turnout is here, and if you follow a straight line, you have to curve around to get to the fascia. So that's why I have that brass tubing and the flexible cable inside the tubing. But a lot of these turnouts could be done much simpler, like these two here, because it'd just be a straight pull at the fascia. I don't think I'm gonna do any of these with controls. I'm just gonna do them manually because they're so easy to access. I mean, this is only 12 inches deep, this part of the layout, the CSX yard, and you can see how the turnouts are aligned. So one other thing I wanted to mention is I did go ahead and try a Caboose Industries. In a prior video I talked about how gigantic these things are, and they really are. They're not to scale, but I wanted to try one. So this is two of the main yard tracks in the CSX territory, and since it's so close to the front of the layout, the fascia, I figured it'd be something for somebody to do. If they're operating the layout, they can just turn that. So this is one of the Caboose Industries switch stands that controls the turnout, but also has a signal head here. So it's green when you're aligned to the straight yard track, and then when you diverge to the other adjacent yard track, is a red signal. So it's green, it's red, and it's just a real simple mechanism. And there's a spring in there so that it gives you a little bit of freedom of degrees of error, actually, so that the throw of the turnout is shorter than the throw in the mechanism. The spring kind of makes up for that. So it's pretty easy to put these things in. But again, the size is a little bit out of scale. I mean, it's probably like O gauge, really. But I'm gonna paint it up and I'll rust it and I'll paint the end of the handle yellow, so it'll look fine. I'm gonna cut the road out here and just fill it in with grass and earth, since this kind of overhangs a bit. So yeah, the experimentation on turnouts continues, and it's an important part of the hobby. If you want realism, you want to have signals, you want to have easy to control points, and I'm kind of learning as I go. So hopefully that's helpful for you. And I hope you have a great week. Be well. Cheers.